Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. So one of the types of comments I get on this channel is regarding the 2024 data I mentioned in some of my previous videos. The data that talks about how last year was a successful one for the auto industry as a whole. How automakers like Ford and GM had increases in sales. A lot of people seem to question that data. I also see that with other channels that talk about the auto market. Many people seem to feel that the data is either false or just not reflective of the current state of the auto market. They mention that we have an average inventory supply of 77 days. We have tons of dealerships with large amounts of previous year units. GM, Ford, and Toyota trucks are overflowing on so many dealership lots. And Stellantis is coming in with bad news after bad news. How can the overall numbers be good, but a lot of the underlying data be so bad? But here's the thing, guys, you have to take a step back sometimes and look at these issues one by one. Because I think the data can be misleading if you try to take it all in one scoop. We have to break down each of these issues separately to get a clearer picture. And I'm not saying this to imply their analysis is completely wrong. I think the logic is sound, but the conclusion is off. Hear me out. So, for starters, let's talk about the day supply numbers. I looked into some statistics from previous years. I compared the average day supply of last year to that of 2019. And guess what? 2019 had a higher average day supply. In that year, that number was 93 versus the 77 of last year. I know, it's shocking when you think about it, but it is true, and I will get into why I think this makes sense in a bit. Now, the other aspect of things we have to look into is dealerships with overflowing inventory. Are these anomalies or the norm? Since there are so many dealerships in the country, it's hard to make an assessment. I tried looking into this myself, so I made a spreadsheet and started looking into the websites of random dealers from different states. I tried looking into as many dealerships as possible. After looking at the numbers I collected, it seemed like it was a mixed bag. Some dealerships had tons of previous year inventory, while others had none. It didn't feel like there was a concrete pattern you can make a conclusion on. But if one of you guys tried doing the same and notice any patterns, let me know in the comment section below. One interesting thing I did notice was that Stellantis had the largest disparity between the dealerships doing well and those that struggled, but my sample was very small, so it could be skewed. And while there might be some automakers that are struggling, the truth is I saw a lot of dealers doing good. Most of them are Honda and Toyota dealers, but I've seen dealers of every brand do well. And when I say doing well, I generally base it off of them having no prior year inventory. I don't really base it off of how much vehicles they have on their lots because I don't know how much volume they do in terms of sales. Now, I know this is not a perfect way of looking at things, but those dealers aren't sharing their sales data publicly, so I can't really go off of anything else. So I don't know if my observations are skewed, but I do know that the auto industry as a whole did pretty good last year. There were about 16 million units sold. That's compared to 17 million in 2019. Now keep in mind, prices were about 30% higher last year compared to 2019. And despite that, sales were only down 6% compared to then. Could this be all a fluff? Could a lot of these numbers be accounting gimmicks, like some of you guys say? I don't know. All I do know is that car prices are not coming down. The high car prices we currently have are a reflection of that data. I believe that if the data was all fluff, car prices would be coming down instead of staying at their current levels. So, what is my takeaway from all of this? Do I think that YouTube is just showing anomalies when it comes to the car market? Not quite. Yes, some of it can be cherry picking, but I think overall we are seeing a new trend in the auto market. We know automakers have been going for more of a margin based approach in recent years. I talked about this before in my other videos, that they're more concerned with profit per vehicle than they are with the volume of vehicles they sell. Because of this, I think comparing the 2019 numbers to last year is not a good idea. The auto industry was pricing its cars based on a completely different strategy back then that no longer applies. The average day supply number back then was also reflective of that volume-based strategy. But now, automakers are adopting a margin-based approach, and this new margin strategy is changing the market dynamics and causing a lot of instability for dealers. You see, the current dealership business model was meant to sell cars in large volume, and so the margin strategy is creating a lot of problems for dealers that can't operate outside of that model. It's just not financially possible for a lot of them. Now, some dealerships can adapt, but a lot are going to struggle, and I think what we are seeing is a huge gap between the ones that do well versus the ones that struggle. This is why you see so many dealerships with overflowing inventory, despite the fact that the overall numbers are on the uptick. And this, in my opinion, due to the fact that we have more dealerships than this margin-based strategy can sustain. A lot of them will either go bankrupt or downsize their operation, but only a small few will come out as winners. but this process will take some time to stabilize. Until then, you're going to see a lot of contradictory things in the car market. The overall data will look good, but a lot of the underlying numbers will look awful. And that's just going to be the norm until this market reflects the margin-based strategy. Automakers will do everything to maintain this new paradigm and keep prices high, even if it means there will be a lot of volatility for the dealers. I don't believe they will ever go back to the days of volume over margin. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with this assessment or not? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for listening and see you guys in the next one.